everybody, and welcome back to another AMA. My name is Matt Diavella. This is Patreon, and we're about to get right into it. I'm excited to be back. It's been a little while since I've done an AMA. I've been recovering from a little bit of anxiety, trying to take my time with it, focus on my life, focus on getting shit back together, and getting back to work in a way that feels good to me. And oh my God, since the last AMA I recorded, so much has changed. So much hasn't, but for the most part, I feel like my life has improved significantly, and I just feel really good. I feel excited about work. I feel like I'm back to myself, and I'm excited to get into these questions that you guys sent in. A lot of really great topics, interesting things to talk about and catch you up on. I've got questions broken down from lifestyle design and personal questions, and then further down here, I've got questions on business, and then finally, I'm going to wrap up with a couple questions on creativity. So the idea is I want to have, start out with, I think the questions that were most favored and most liked. By the way, if you click like on any of those, any of the questions that were down there, that helped me a lot to figure out which ones you guys were more into and were interested in hearing about. So the next time we do an AMA, if you ask a question, awesome. If you do that, also go through like your favorites. If you don't ask a question, just go through, find the ones you like, click like on it, and that helps me out a whole lot. So let's just get right into the questions. And this first one, I already talked a little bit about this, but Renee Robb asks, how do you feel in general? Is what you are currently doing and creating fulfilling for you, or is it something that's enjoyable and practical, but a temporary thing? So now on the other side of anxiety, I feel amazing. You know, when you're in these low moments, it feels like the whole world's working against you, and that it feels like you're never going to get back to normal. But right now, I'm completely fulfilled. I'm completely passionate about the projects I'm working on. I'm excited about the things that I'm doing. I'm doing a 30-day experiment this month where I count every single calorie that I eat. It's very type A of me. I'm going full type A with this one. I've never really done it to this extent before, but it's exciting. Like, I'm finding things that I can do to improve my life that can also facilitate the work that I'm creating and the kind of videos that I want to make, which is what I'm always trying to do. Like, I'm thinking about the viewer, I'm thinking about what people might get out of it, but at the same time, a lot of the times I'm working on things myself, and I'm trying to learn about these things for myself. So in general, I feel great. Thank you very much, Renee, for asking that question. Sebastian has a question. What is it like? What is what you like the most about? Okay, I'm sorry. I definitely read these beforehand. What do you like most about living with Natalie? I'd say, honestly, my favorite thing about living with Nat is that we make each other laugh on a daily basis. It's hard for me to remember a day where we haven't laughed, where we haven't cracked a joke, where we haven't tried to make each other smile. That might sound corny, but really that's the best thing about living with her. We're just always constantly trying to make each other's days better. And she also cooks, and she's a very, very good cook. So I enjoy that as well. She's been in the kitchen a lot lately ever since she left her job. And that is something that I can get behind. So, and she actually kind of likes it as almost a meditation. So she doesn't want me bothering her while she's cooking. Sometimes I'll help her out if she wants it, if she's feeling stressed out or whatever. But for the most part, that's her domain, and she's really into it. She's got a food blog. If you go to yumyumporkbun.com, it's not updated. Don't expect much. Let's see, what do we got here? Patrick, do you sometimes feel like too much self-improvement becomes work of its own? You know, I kind of felt this way when I first got started out in business, and I was reading all these entrepreneurial books. I was reading, trying to figure out how to start a business, what I should be doing right, what things I shouldn't be focusing on, and how to build traction, how to grow a client list, how to make more money. So I read like everything I possibly could, and I encourage people to do this. Like, if you're really into business, anything like creativity, just absorb yourself in as much as possible. There's so much valuable information out there, and at the cost of a book or an audiobook, $10, $12, it's a no-brainer to go out and buy those things to invest in yourself. And I invested in a lot of entrepreneurial books, But there does get to be a certain point when you say, okay, I've read all the entrepreneurial books that I could possibly read. A lot of this information is becoming recycled. I'm hearing a lot of the same things over and over again. And if you get to that point, and you haven't taken action yet, that's what you need to do. You need to actually do something. You need to put into action the things that you're learning, because while you will learn a ton from these books and audiobooks and all the stuff that you can find online, you'll learn way more by getting out and practically doing it yourself, because everybody's specific path is a little bit different. So if you're a YouTuber, even within the specific fields, right? Like if you're a music engineer or a musician, a rapper, if you're a YouTuber, a filmmaker, trying to make a Netflix documentary, each of these things in themselves have their own paths to go down. So you can make it as a YouTuber in 1,000 different ways. And I've talked to dozens of different YouTubers that have entered and created in the space in a unique and different way. So you're not really going to learn and understand your path forward, how you're going to succeed or make it or break into an industry until you actually enter the industry and fumble and figure out how to do it for yourself. So don't let reading books and focusing on self-development prevent you from actually implementing these things into your life. Sam asks, how tall are you? That's the easy question. Thank you very much for that easy softball question. The answer is that I am 5'8", even though when I was doing online dating sites, I would definitely say I'm 5'9". I don't think I ever said 5'10". I think that would have been too much of a stretch. I do remember once I don't think I was on a date, but I was definitely dating. And I was walking home from a late night out, drinks with friends or whatever, and I passed this girl and she was on the phone with somebody and she's like, I can't even believe it. On Tinder, he said that he was 5'9" and he was definitely 5'7". And then that's when I was like, that she sounds kind of like an asshole. Like, who does that? Who would actually, like, did you get out a measuring tape and measure him while he was there? Do you really know the difference of 2 inches? That's absurd to me. I think people would spend a lot of time thinking and talking about height. I think it's something that usually women get more held up on when it comes to dating, although obviously, I think men have their own preferences as well. But I found that for me, I kind of like being short. I used to feel like maybe add an extra inch or two on online dating sites, but I've just become confident and comfortable in myself, and I love the fact that I'm short. Like, growing up and being the short kid in school, while it has its disadvantages, it also made me feel unique and made me feel different, and I like being the underdog. And I think sometimes people look at you if you're short and they put a certain judgment on you, but I don't think that's something I think I'm clearly just like expressing my own self-doubts and my lack of confidence in areas, because that has nothing to do with the actual question. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. If you ask me my weight in another AMA, maybe I'll answer that as well. Frankie asks, are you intentional with investing only in your close circle of friends, or do you maintain a broad social circle of friends? And so I'm currently in a season of my life where I'm actually reaching out and connecting with other creators and creatives and just people in general. I'm trying to open up my social circle a little bit more. I'm kind of an introvert, so that really leaves me oftentimes making easy excuses for not going out and for not doing things. And I can, inflate my own self-importance about the work I'm doing and say, no, this is really important. I need to spend this entire week working on videos and not seeing anybody and just kind of hunker down inside my apartment. But I know I don't feel better when I do that. And I know that I need to have some kind of balance in terms of the social events that I'm having. So Nat and I have been doing a lot more brunches with friends. We never really did that a whole lot over the past few years. Having people come over to our place, doing a bagel brunch, or having people bring food and, doing Super Bowl parties, that kind of thing has been a lot of fun lately to focus more on bringing people together. There's just way too many excuses that we make for ourselves to prevent us from doing that. But I've also been trying to reach out, have one-on-ones. The one thing I'll say is that I had found that through the podcast. It's a great thing to do if you're trying to meet and network and connect with people, especially people in the same industry as yourself. You create a podcast, now you have a platform to be able to interview people, to bring them over to your place, to even get on the phone and talk with them. So that has been super helpful for me in the past. But I recently put a pause to the podcast. You'll notice I haven't released an episode in a month. And that's one, because of a film that I'm working on. Two, it's just become, with the anxiety and stuff, I was like, I just need to push as much stuff off of my plate as possible. And the podcast itself, as much as I have loved it, as much as it's helped me grow and taught me so much about myself, and I've just learned from other people so many different things I wouldn't have. So it's bittersweet to kind of at least take a break and step away from it for now. But I just know that, like, if it's something that I'm really meant to do and that I'm really driven to, I'll get back to it. If not, then, maybe there's another podcast down the road. Maybe I bring the Ground Up Show back in a couple months. I'm not sure yet, but I'm not being too hard on myself to make that decision at this point. I've said this before. I always make these forever decisions. I always or at least think in my head that this is a decision I make forever. I'm pausing the podcast for a month, or I find it difficult to say, okay, this is just an experiment, and that's what I'm getting better at. So, definitely looking to invest more in meeting new friends, especially being in a new city. Like, in New York, I had established friends, and I had my family and friends from when I grew up. Everybody was pretty close by, so I didn't have to do that extra work. And now I'm finding that while I have some connections and networks, I want to invest more into them and invest more in my social life and friends and hanging out. Anish Makala. Do you ever get bored of your routines? I'm scared that I might be making my life too monotonous by creating too many routines. So, I love this quote from, it's not even a quote, but my friend Josh Milburn from The Minimalists says, "My life is boring by design." And I like that, because sometimes we get down on ourselves for having a quote unquote boring life or having a mundane routine. And I don't feel bad at all if I have a mundane or boring routine. I don't want to feel lazy. I still think that you can have a routine, but then there can be energy to it. Maybe what's wrong with your day is that your routine is not providing you with energy. So if you wake up in the morning and let's say you create a morning routine of waking up, you brush your teeth, you drink a glass of water, make a cup of coffee, and what other beverages? You can make a smoothie. But basically then you figure out, maybe you read a book, or you meditate for 10 minutes, or you go out for a jog, you go exercising. Those kind of things are going to change your state in a way that's actually going to, I think, add more energy to your day, and it won't feel mundane. I'm not worried about boring. I am worried about lazy. I'm not worried about monotonous. I like a daily routine. And of course, you want to add a little bit of variety to that every once in a while, whether that's traveling or going a weekend away. Just mixing it up, I think, certainly helps. I've been traveling a lot lately, so at least the past 2 months I've traveled for a week out of the month, and then I had about a 3-week trip through Spain and Italy before that. So I take solace in my routine now. I need more structure and more routine in my life. And so I wouldn't get too hard on yourself. If it's boring, try to make it more interesting. Try to do more cool shit. Try to create things. Try to find passionate projects that you can really immerse yourself into. Mark Baker says, "Hey, Matt, when you find yourself becoming frustrated or demotivated by something, what do you do that you find useful when dealing with that?" I would say change your state. So you change your state to change your mind. If you feel down, if you feel depressed, if you feel like you're just not inspired or engaged in the work that you're doing, take a cold shower, go to the gym, exercise, run, get out of the house, get some vitamin D going. I find that there's a certain cadence throughout my day where in the morning I'll be pretty energized through my work, and I could probably get a good 3 to 4 hours in before I start to get tired and sluggish, at which point if I leave, go to the gym, exercise. Getting out in the sun, it really helps to motivate me and make me feel better and gives me a second wind so I can come back and do something and get back to work. That said, task switching is important. So in the morning, I might write for 3 or 4 hours. Right now, I've been working on a script for a feature film, and that's just been my mornings, 3 to 4 hours, just nothing but writing. Take a break for an hour to 2 hours, do lunch, do the gym, come back, and then do a different task. Work on my YouTube channel, work on editing a video, work on finding music for a video, whatever it is. a different task that stimulates a different part of my brain. Writing requires a certain kind of energy from me, and editing a video is something entirely different. So I think those things might help you out a lot. Also, when I'm feeling like I'm in a funk and I'm not inspired, generally speaking, not just in terms of my energy throughout the day, I will read a book that has inspired me in the past, that has motivated me. I think that's super valuable to go back to those sources that have helped you in the past. If not, find a new book to continually inspire yourself. Biographies help a lot. I find those to be interesting. But really, there's so many different things that you could find to help motivate you, whether it's an audiobook or it's a podcast. Find a YouTube video, like look up Gary Vee inspirational, and you'll find some shit that's gonna wake you up and make you realize that you haven't been putting yourself into your work. So that's that. Adam Dodd. Hey Matt, how do you keep track of your daily, weekly, monthly tasks? Do you keep it all in an app like Notion or Evernote, or simply put it in a calendar? Thanks. My productivity system has been pretty constant, I would say, over the past 4 years or so. And I think I created it not by reading anybody else's system, but by just trial and error, for sure. But I recently did take a course which was created by Thomas Frank. It's on Skillshare. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you haven't already. But he breaks it down into these 3 parts, where you have your to-do or task list, you have your calendar, and then and then you have your notes, where you take notes and all these things. So splitting it down to those 3 systems, I had those. Naturally, I didn't realize those were the 3 important ones to have. But I'll explain mine, how I use them, and also how things have changed. So having taken this course from Thomas, I've started to be a little bit more intentional and think a little bit more rigidly about how I'm scheduling my days, and I'll get into that. But with the To-Do app, it's TEUX.com, todo.com, and it basically gives me a layout of 5 days. That's the standard viewing format, and I can see today, and then you have tomorrow and the next 3 days. And I can say, okay, there's certain things like whether do laundry, and that might be a Wednesday, so I can just drag it and move it over there. And I may have the 3 or 4 tasks for today, whether it's like write scripts, make lunch, biceps and back, which might be my workout for the day. I include both my personal and my work because I don't do too many things every day that it gets overwhelming, and I don't have massively complicated projects where I need to have 8 different to-do lists. Depending upon your workflow, what's going on in your life, something like Notion or Evernote may be a little bit better. There's other, Todoist is the productivity app or checklist that Thomas Frank uses, and it looks like it's, if you have different projects, you might have a different checklist for each and every one. That's something to check out. And then I use Google Calendar. So Google Calendar, and this is what's changed the most for me lately. I used to only use Google Calendar for events, for things that are happening in my day, like if I have a phone call or I have a lunch or a meeting, and I use Google Calendar, and then I can send the invite to the person that's going to it, so everybody knows it's there. You have it on your calendar. I found that to be very helpful. Like, the main thing is, if you're not you cannot trust your brain. If you're not putting these things down on paper, things will fall through the cracks. You will forget. For instance, I'm actually talking with Thomas from Yes Theory. We've been trying to hang out and get together and have lunch for a couple weeks now, and it just didn't work out this week. So I went, and he said, hey, I'm going on vacation. I'll be back on September 2nd. So on September 2nd, I just put a little note, 7:30 a.m., text Thomas to set up lunch. And now that's in my calendar. That's something that I am definitely not going to forget. You could add it to your to-do list if you want, but I've found it more helpful now to get strict about my schedule and my days with my calendar. So in the past, I never used to schedule time in my calendar for editing a video, writing a video, whatever it may be. But now, since I'm starting to juggle more projects, we just started a new feature-length documentary for Netflix. I've got my YouTube channel, which obviously requires a lot of work itself, and I have these Patreon videos that I make. So those are the 3 main things I'm focusing on, and I want to make sure that I have time for all of it, and time doesn't, again, slip away, and my brain just doesn't completely forget to do it. So today, like very, very structured in terms of wake up, work on the Netflix script, and that was like 3 to 4 hours. Then it was go to the gym, and then after that it was come back and work on the script for a couple more hours. Then I had 2 meetings back to back, and then after that it was shoot and edit this Patreon video. So that has helped me tremendously, and this has only been, I would say, about a week that I've been doing this, where it's been crazy strict. And again, this is very type A of me, but I love being type A. I just find that creating that discipline in your life allows you to do so much more and gives you a lot of freedom throughout your life, which is Jocko Willink talks a lot about that, how discipline equals freedom. It sounds contradictory that having a very strict schedule would somehow allow you freedom, but that's what you need to do in order to create the life that you want. You need to have discipline for yourself. Like anything that you want out of life, whether it's getting fit, eating healthy, creating a business, requires you to build a structure and a system to make that happen. And if you're not disciplined enough to sit down and do the work every single day, then you're not going to be able to progress at all. And then the last thing I do is I use Apple Notes for my notes. And I have Apple Notes and I have different folders and categories. I usually label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it would be video scripts, it would be business ideas, personal notes, and then maybe Patreon videos, and then I could just break it down into different sections like that. So then I can easily get to the ones that I want. Most of the time I'm in the video ideas section or video script section. And that's where if I have an idea, I will just start with the title of the video or like the main, like what it feels like. What is this video? If I could wrap it up in one sentence, what does it sound like? And that's now the video categorized there as a different note in my note system. And then that will be there. And then I'll probably come in and like every once in a while, like work, it never seems to really stop. So I might be out at the gym, or I might be just getting ready for bed, and then an idea comes to my head. I'll pop open that note for that video, and I might jot a couple notes. Once I get to the process of actually shooting and editing the video, or even just before I'm about to shoot and edit, I will write everything I could possibly think about in terms of this subject. I'll do a bunch of research, and then I'll bring it into that note, and then I'll form it into an actual script that might feel like a good video, that might feel like a compelling story, and then I'll get to the process of shooting and editing and all that. But all my notes, all my ideas, everything is in Apple Notes, and those are the 3 ways that I'm able to keep myself productive, creative, and on schedule with my projects. If you haven't yet created a productivity system, start with what I just said. Try that. Try the apps that I did. They're, I think, all free. To-Do is very cheap. Google Calendar is free. Apple Notes is free. So very simple, very easy. And if you really need help, if you want to step your game up, I definitely recommend checking out Thomas Frank's class on Skillshare. That helped me out a ton. It's like maybe an hour long, so you can get through it pretty quickly and start implementing the stuff right away. So those are all the lifestyle, personal questions. And although obviously, life and business, it's all intertwined. I did obviously answer some ones that are business related. But now I've got a business question from Chase. Chase, do you ever wish you could go back to when you were doing client work and instead of switching gears and cutting it out altogether, hiring people to film and edit for you while you take on a role as a manager or owner? I run a real estate photography business and I want to focus more on video work, but the thought of letting go of the business I've created freaks me out a bit. I totally understand. Like, listen, if you're not freaked out, if you're not just scared, not all the time, but if you don't have these moments like every 2 years at least, you need to have moments that define your life where you are just scared and terrified about something you're about to do. Because if you're not putting yourself in those situations, then you're not growing, you're not learning, you're stagnant and stale. So I can seriously look back like every 2 years and I see myself doing something that I never thought I would be capable of doing. And it doesn't make you indestructible. It doesn't make your life perfect, but it allows you to face that next hurdle and that next scary thing even better. So don't worry if you're scared. Accept it, embrace it, and lean into that feeling. Sometimes I miss all of the downtime I had when I was freelancing, I look back, and maybe I'm looking back with rose-colored glasses, but I just remember some days working in Hoboken and where life was simpler and I didn't have as much work, and the only work I had was the work that came in, the work that I was able to find. So as a freelancer, I wouldn't be doing extra projects, passion projects all the time. Obviously, that's how I was able to transition out, by filming minimalism and making that documentary. But before that, I would sometimes work 4 hours a day. And it was amazing. Like I would work a couple hours in the morning, do a little bit of editing, and then I would go to the gym for a couple hours, come back, maybe do a little bit more editing, and then my day would be done. I'd maybe go out on a date. I'd go hang out with friends. For the most part, it was much more balanced towards personal life, relaxing, downtime. Now, the problem is when you run your own creative business, when you are creating original ideas all the time, is you can have infinite amount of work. There's always more work to be done. There's always more projects to find and create, because I'm creating the work for myself. Like shit, like if I had half of my week available, if it only took me a couple of days to make one video, then I'd be like, okay, I'll make 2 videos a week. And it's so easy to tag it on. And I find myself doing that with the runway. So runway is something that's talked a lot about with YouTubers and creators, is how much runway do you have? How many, like if you stop making videos right now, how many videos would go out and upload by themselves because they're already scheduled and already completed? And I used to have like 4 to 5 videos in the queue in the runway all the time. And it felt good to have that kind of space. But again, you would never feel like you had enough. You would always be like, okay, but I want 6, I want 8, I want 10 videos in a row. And I've let go of that a little bit. And eventually I might get back to having a couple weeks, but I don't want to ever feel like I have to just keep going further and further and further. And right now I'm in a cadence where I'm week to week, and it feels pretty good. I feel like I'm able to get ahead in the right way. Travel poses its own difficulties for sure with that kind of system. But also, I said this in a recent video where it was the don't let these 3 things ruin your life. Like perfectionism can get in the way and prevent you from, can hold you up and tie you down on projects that shouldn't be. So if you set an unrealistic deadline, if you set these constraints on yourself that forces you to take action, you'll figure out a way to get it done. So so I've got a trip next week. We're going to Hawaii to visit with Natalie's family and hang out. So either I figure it out and like I'm able to make 2 videos this week with everything else I got going on, or I do 1 video and then I take a week off, and I'm just becoming okay with that. And when you are so passionate about your work, you love it. And like when you get into this mindset of, in order to be successful, you need to be consistent. So before you ever get any success, you're like, okay, that's great. I'm going to be consistent every single day. I'm going to, keep making every week. I'm going to release this project that I decided I'm going to make. And you just keep going and going and going. But then once you have the success, like yes, I do think you need to keep delivering, and you shouldn't underestimate yourself, and you should make sure that you're not going to like let yourself go and just rest on your laurels. But you can take downtime. You can take days off. It's okay. You don't have to be that crazy consistent that it gets in the way of your well-being in life. Life happens. Things are going to come up, get in the way. There's going to be busy periods. There's going to be slow periods. Let yourself adjust to that as it comes and goes, and don't put too much stress on yourself. Thanks for the question, Chase. Let's get on to some creative questions. Robbie Fisher asks, I'd love to hear more about your process of picking out music for your videos. Where do you get it, and how do you choose them? Thanks. Okay, first of all, I use Epidemic Sound for all my music on YouTube. With our films, we have an original composer that we usually work with. It's a great way to go about it if you can do it, and that's what we've done with this one. This one coming up. But Epidemic Sound, amazing. Lots of great music on there. I definitely recommend it. It's very easy. It's got all the kind of music that I would want. But I just met with the Epidemic Sound people, and they would be upset if they heard me say this. But there's some shit on there. There's some shit that I would never use. And every single music library, this is true of on the internet. There's going to be music that maybe it's not shit, or maybe it just would never fit my videos. But this is something that you build with experience, is in the intuition of, would this song work not only with this video, not only with my I don't want to say brand, but like the kind of films that I like to make, does it sound like a song that I would use in my videos? But does it fit the scene? Does it fit the tone of the video that I'm trying to make and the specific message I'm coming across? And like music is one of those difficult things, because like if you get it wrong, it can make your video feel corny, overly inspirational. It can feel dry. It may not carry the piece enough. It may conflict too much with the vocals and like with the person that's talking. So these are all things that you have to take into account. And sometimes you just want music to be so subtle in the background that people don't even hear it. They don't even notice that it's there. And I love working on the transitions. Like if you are a filmmaker and you're having trouble with music, not that mine are the best example in the world, but just listen to my songs and how I use them throughout my videos, because you'll notice where they start and stop, like, and how I sometimes allow moments of silence. So you might overuse music where you're like, every single aspect of this video has an underscore, needs to have music under it, because you can't stand listening to your voice by yourself, or you're worried that you've watched this 10 times that now this message that you talk about in the video is boring. And that's something you have to like be okay with, some of that silence. I think I overscored minimalism. I think I used too much music there, and I should have let a lot of the film be a little bit more naked and natural, just with the people talking about it. Certainly as a preference. But then there are times though that you want the music that's so light to the touch that you wouldn't even hear it, and you couldn't even hear that transition as it comes in and out. And this is why I say go back, listen to the video, and listen to when the music starts, when it stops, when I switch it up, when I change it, how those transition points work. Because unless you're really paying attention to it, you're probably gonna miss it, and it's gonna seem more mysterious about how to integrate it into your own videos. So do that. You can look at mine, look at other people. Yes Theory has some awesome videos, and you'll see them do a very similar thing. Everybody has a different way depending upon the style of video that's out there, but the style of video that you're looking to shoot. But yeah, music is key to filmmaking. I've got 2 more questions here. Adrian asks, when you're doing narrative voiceover type videos, do you record the audio first and then edit your footage to match the length of your audio, or do you shoot the footage and then edit it together first and then record your voiceover to fit the footage? Okay. So almost all my videos include some kind of voiceover, some kind of talking head, which would, if you don't know what a talking head is, it's this. It's me talking on camera. I don't know why they say that. I think it's because it used to be from when you would do an interview with somebody and it would just be their head on the screen, so you would just see a talking head. But I would define a talking head or A-roll as anytime I'm here talking directly to the camera. Then there will also be B-roll incorporated somehow, and there will be vlog style footage. Vlog style footage, also known in the documentary world pretentiously as verite, V-E-R-T, verite. I don't know how to spell, it's verite, but anyway, it's those fly on the wall moments. It's, if you've seen the documentary Weiner about Anthony Weiner and his whole like sexting scandal, most of that documentary is fly on the wall. It's just these 2 filmmakers following around Anthony Weiner as these revelations come out about allegations of him sexting, I think, a minor. It was fucked up. It was an amazing documentary though, because, and what makes those films are the access. You have access to this amazing content, and there's so many great documentaries because they have the access, not because it's amazing cinematography or the most beautifully shot footage ever. And that's, I think it just makes it, I don't know, it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like you're there. It makes you feel like you're a part of the experience and you can easily get lost in it. Again, I'll go back to Yes Theory. All their videos typically are like, we did this thing. Let's document and follow it. That's why I do 30-day challenges, because it's really great to be able to have a premise, a very clear start, and a very clear finish, and a journey along the way. And then in those kind of videos, I can just vlog myself and be like, all right, today I feel shitty. I didn't drink coffee today. I've got a really terrible headache. And then that allows me to tell a story in a unique and a dynamic way, because that's the one thing you don't want your video to be. You don't want it to be dull and dry. And not that you can't have those videos, but if I just did every video like this, talking head, blah, 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 it would get boring, it wouldn't be interesting, and I don't think as many people, I know for sure not as many people would tune in to watch. So, okay, let's just talk about specifically I quit caffeine for 30 days, That's a video that you might have seen by now. It's up on my YouTube channel. But during the 30 days, I did film some vlog footage, like of my progress and how I was feeling. And then I started to write down how I was feeling in those moments in my Apple Notes app. And I started to develop like a script. I mean, it starts with the notes about as the process is going along. And then I sit down for a day or two and I just write. I'm writing as much as I possibly can. I'm basically creating a script for what this video will look like. Now, I plan for some spontaneity in the video. I plan for, like, there obviously are vlog moments that are completely spontaneous. This is what happens when I get to 30 minutes into an AMA. My brain just, like, collapses and I forget how to think. So I plan for those moments, like the vlog moments are naturally there. But a lot of the video, I'm playing to my strengths. And I think my strengths are in writing, are in storytelling and high cinematography, those things, versus leaning on my ability to deliver something brilliant on camera. Because even in these AMAs, I prepare for them and I write down notes because that's not my strong suit, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm not at all ashamed that I'm not just this brilliant person that can sit down and give you amazing wisdom without sitting down to think about it first. So I do that with every video. I think as much as I possibly can about a subject because I want to get it right. And if I leave it to myself to make it up on the fly, I'm going to make shit up. I'm going to say things that aren't true, that are half-truths or maybe like embellished, or I want it to be true, accurate, real, actionable, and I want it to help people. So that's what I try to do with my videos. And so I write down as much as possible. So a lot of the talking heads that you might see me on camera would be from an actual script of something that I wrote. So then sometimes I shoot the B-roll throughout that 30-day process. Sometimes I wait to the end to shoot a lot of the B-roll. I'm almost always having to, once I've got an edit in the works, find B-roll to patch things together because while I might have a script to start with, it will change as I start to edit. I will say, that doesn't feel right when it's like when I'm saying it and like I hear the voiceover and the music in this piece, it sounds corny, it sounds lame. I thought it was going to be funny. It's not really funny at all. And that's when you let your intuition guide the edit and the storytelling and you allow yourself to change it. I forget who gave me that advice, but they said if your story doesn't change along the way, then you're not listening. So always be listening, always be making sure that you can tune things and make it right. And that's one of the great things about editing and filmmaking and writing in general. If you're writing a blog post or a book or anything, is that it's never final until you publish it, until it's done. So that allows you to sit down and do the work and write some stupid shit. Write some shit that you would be embarrassed, that you would never want anybody to see. But you get through that, and then you can edit it, and you can chop it down. And then you can attempt the joke, and if the joke doesn't land, cut the joke out. Because seriously, if it's not funny, you're going to embarrass yourself. At least that's how I feel. Yeah, okay, and then I think the editing process usually... Yeah, so editing usually lasts 2 to 3 days, at which point I may be shooting stuff. I may be doing the talking heads to insert throughout. I'll usually patch in the high-quality talking head footage at the end. That might be one of the last things that I shoot, unless it's like, hey, I'm starting this 30-day challenge. Like, that's obviously shot earlier in the month. I got a question from Jeremy Griffith. Do you ever get bored of your routines? I'm scared that I might be making my life too... Did I already have that one? I think I already did that one. Oh my God, you guys are going to be so disappointed. Because I said 2 questions and now I have no other questions. I feel like... well, no, this actually... This is kind of like... I think it's a similar question that was asked. But he basically says, do you ever get bored of your routines? I'm scared that I might be making my life too monotonous by creating too many routines. I would say to this, like I somewhat answered this before, but I can give a different answer now. If you're scared of being... No, this is... Let me see. Nope, that's what I did. Okay. I figured it out, guys. This is so embarrassing. So basically what happened was I think I copied and pasted the wrong question, but then the answer is different, so that's why I was a little bit confused and thought of something. I think the original question from Jeremy was something about feeling overwhelmed by doing too much and having too many things going on. My answer to that was that you don't have to do it all. That you can drop the things that are non-essential. You just have to figure out what it is. So for me, and there'll be tough questions along the way. Like for me, the podcast, slowing that down, stopping it for the time being. It wasn't the most essential thing that I had to focus on right now. And I could have an endless amount of things that I say are essential. It could be my YouTube channel, this feature documentary. It could be my newsletter, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It could be the podcast. It could be like reading books, fitness, health, eating really well. Like you wouldn't be able to do all those things just by yourself. You would collapse under the pressure. So at this moment in my life, I'm putting much more time and energy into my personal life. I'm saying no. Social media isn't even a question. I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm putting way more energy on this film that I'm working on and the rest for YouTube and Patreon. And like, that's how I structure my days. And I'm totally fine with it. And I know that it doesn't have to be a forever decision. This can be something I change and I readjust down in the future, whether it's going more to the podcast or reading more, or whatever it is. You can change it and adapt as you go along. So Jeremy, thanks for the question, even though I didn't even actually get to answer, read your question. I hope that helps you guys. This was so much fun. It gets hot in here. My back is sweaty. I think, can you see that? My back is sweaty in here. Do you like my office? I'm probably gonna do a tour soon, but I'm currently reworking. I wanna set up this wall here that you can't see. I wanna kind of create a new film backdrop. So then I can have the couch casual look, but then I can also have a little setup where I'm in front of a table, kind of talking, kind of like my John Oliver desk. And I got my desk here. You can't see it. I don't know why I'm saying these things. But it's gonna be good, and I think you're gonna like it. I'll do a tour. I'll post it on YouTube. Thanks for watching. So excited to be back, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.